Most businesses believe growth comes from more leads. It doesn't. Growth comes from trust, and trust comes from authority. That's an important distinction, because if growth was simply a lead problem, every business spending money on advertising would be thriving. They're not. Many businesses generate inquiries every day and still struggle to grow. Why? Because attention alone doesn't create revenue. Trust creates revenue. Over the past 18 years, I've worked with businesses across multiple industries, and one pattern has remained remarkably consistent. The companies that grow predictably are rarely the companies generating the most leads. They're the companies generating the highest levels of trust, because trust changes everything. It changes conversion, it changes profitability, it changes customer value, it changes referrals, it changes growth. And that's exactly why we built what we call the authority acquisition machine. This isn't a marketing campaign. It's not an advertising strategy. It's not a website. It's not SEO. It's not social media. It's not Google Ads. It's all of them working together. Because growth doesn't come from isolated tactics. Growth comes from systems, and systems produce predictable outcomes. The first layer of the authority acquisition machine is visibility. This is where most businesses begin. Google, AI search, maps, voice search, local search, content discovery, recommendation engines. The objective is simple. Become visible when your market is actively looking, because if you cannot be found, nothing else matters. Visibility is the starting point, but visibility alone is not enough. The second layer is authority. This is where most competitors disappear, because being visible is one thing, being trusted is another. Authority comes from content, reputation, positioning, reviews, industry presence, expertise, consistency, thought leadership. Authority answers the question, why should I choose you instead of somebody else? And if you don't answer that question clearly, the market will answer it for you, usually by choosing someone else. The third layer is trust. Now this is where things become interesting. Most businesses attempt to create trust during the sales conversation. That's too late. The best businesses create trust before the conversation ever begins, before the call, before the meeting, before the proposal, before the quote. Trust should already exist, because when trust already exists, the entire dynamic changes. The prospect stops asking, "Can I trust you?" and starts asking, "When can we start?" That is a completely different conversation. The fourth layer is psychology, and this is the layer most agencies never talk about, because psychology is what actually drives decisions. People don't buy logically, they justify logically, but they decide emotionally. They decide based on certainty, confidence, trust, perceived risk, authority, belonging. Understanding human psychology allows us to build systems that align with how people naturally make decisions, instead of fighting against it. The fifth layer is conversion engineering. This is where everything starts working together. Now let's talk about something most business owners have accepted as normal, a 2 or 3% close rate. Think about that. Imagine speaking with 100 prospective clients and only converting 2 or 3. The industry tells you that's acceptable. I don't. Because low conversion rates are often a symptom of weak positioning, weak authority, weak trust, weak education, weak visibility. The prospect arrives unconvinced, and now the business must persuade them. That's difficult and expensive. At Vision Logiq, we approach this differently. We focus on creating trust before the conversation. We focus on positioning before the proposal. We focus on authority before the appointment. Because when those elements are in place, conversion changes dramatically. Over many years, we have repeatedly seen properly engineered authority systems produce significantly higher conversion rates because prospects arrive informed, educated, and already believing they're speaking with the right company. The objective is not pressure. The objective is certainty, and certainty converts. The sixth layer is momentum, because growth isn't a single transaction. Growth compounds. A client becomes a review becomes trust. Trust becomes authority. Authority creates visibility. Visibility creates opportunity. Opportunity creates growth. Growth creates more authority, and the cycle continues. This is where businesses stop chasing growth and start creating it. When all 6 layers work together, something remarkable happens. Marketing stops feeling random. growth stops feeling unpredictable, and the business starts operating from a position of strength. Not because of luck, not because of trends, not because of hope, because the system was engineered correctly. That's the difference between tactics and architecture. Most businesses buy tactics. The most successful businesses build systems, and systems create predictable outcomes. That's what we do. We build systems, we engineer trust, we create visibility, we establish authority, and we turn those assets into opportunities. Because visibility alone isn't enough. Visibility without trust creates curiosity. Visibility with trust creates growth. If you're looking for another agency, we're probably not the right fit. But if you're looking for a growth architecture partner, if you're looking for a system, if you're looking for a business that understands not only marketing, but growth itself, then I'd love to have a conversation. I'm Kevin Harvey. Visibility creates opportunity. Be seen. Welcome to Vision Logiq.
Visibility creates attention. Authority creates trust. Trust creates revenue. That's the authority acquisition machine. If you're ready to dominate your market instead of competing in it, click the link below and request a private Vision Logiq strategy session. Subscribe to the channel and continue with the next briefing. Welcome to the war.